I will be brutally honest. Ain't nothing but being brutally honest. Coming at you with another video.
What is up, everybody? Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome my special guest. Let's just say he happens to coach at a junior college, but he goes under the podcast called Kezar Pod. My guy, Adam Kurdish. How's it going, my guy?
CG, what's going on, man? Not bad. I'm, just taking in this good weather we're having in the Bay Area. How about you?
Not too bad in the Central Valley, but can't complain about it.
And whereabouts in the Central Valley are you?
Fresno, not too far from Fresno State.
I love that. We had a couple coaches on the coaching staff. Two of them, both the DB coaches played at Fresno. So a lot of Bulldog representation there.
Oh, yeah. There's a couple of them dudes. I already checked out a couple of dudes. Carlton Johnson ran like a pretty fast 40 time at his pro day. He ran a 4.28.
Is that I know there's a linebacker that made the headlines, like a senior or something like that the Niners were checking out.
Cavell,
or does he play a different position?
I think it's Cavell Bailey.
No, yeah, totally.
Yeah, he's solid. I checked out a couple of them dudes. Yeah, man, I've been doing some due diligence with all these prospects, but since we're going into the offseason and debate about it, man, I know we came up short on the biggest stage, but looking into this offseason, how do you feel about the Niners' approach this offseason?
I think they're just, it's no BS, right? It's the defense underperformed. From my vantage point, I thought the defense last year should have been an all-time defense. Talking not quite 85 Bears maybe, but like somewhere along the lines of that Denver Broncos defense that got it done versus the Carolina Panthers right here in the Bay Area at Levi's Stadium. And they underperformed, right? Like versus the Packers, the run defense really had holes in it. I went to a deep dive on my podcast on why I thought Steve Wilkes just wasn't quite it for the 49ers. Don't get me wrong. I'm not here to hate on Steve Wilkes. He went into a very interesting situation to begin with, but nonetheless, it wasn't a fit. And they thought the same way about a few of their players. They let Chase Young walk. Couldn't agree more with that. I'm a big Chase Young guy too. A lot of people hate on Chase Young. I think he has great ability, and I think he can go get the quarterback. I think he's shown glimpses. He can be an elite run stopper too with his size and extension. And he made some great plays that I don't think really got highlighted because of the effort stuff. But the others, there's so many signings that they made across the board. The D line, bring in Elliott, the other D tackle from Houston. You got Gross Matos, you got Leonard Floyd. It is a makeover on the D line, right? For a D line that they thought was not getting it done last year to their max ability, right? Like that, we all expected the D line to have, each starter on the D line to have at least 10 sacks. I think that's what the expectation was. So I like the moves. I'm curious to get your thoughts on it as well. But, keeping the offensive line as well, I think that is a bigger deal than people making it out to be, right? Keeping McKivitz, keeping Feliciano, it sets them up really good for the draft to go for it, go for a big-time offensive tackle, offensive lineman. And hey, if they're not ready in their first year, now we got that same group that got it done last year. It's almost like if I were to like wrap it all up into one conclusion, it's that the Niners are setting themselves up. So if they completely fall on their faces in the draft, they should still be able to compete for a high level playoff seed and a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think the way I look at it, the defense really underperformed with Steve Wilks, but the only improvement we got out of Steve Wilks were the turnovers. Like, let's not take away what he did. I agree with you.
Absolutely.
Just wasn't a fit, but I think the way the Niners went into this was, it took them so long to find a candidate. But if that was the case, they could have just gave the promotion immediately. But I guess they wanted to take some time and do some due diligence. And I guess some players do like what they saw from they like what they had the in-house before. So it made a lot of sense, I guess, with Daniel Sorensen, with the insight and all the stuff he knows under the Pete Carroll coaching tree, because we run a defense exactly the same. So I guess it could have made a lot of sense to promote, but better late than never. But we went to the Super Bowl with just that new coordinator, and it just didn't work out. So
crazy.
Could have been better. Like you said, they underperform on our defensive line. Like Nick Bosa, let's be honest, he underperformed of what he was supposed to be, man. We paid him the top of the top of the top
Sure
of the top money right there, and he barely produced average numbers for that production.
Yeah.
I mean, Javon Hargrave, we paid you at the top of the food chain, and you barely did okay. You did all right, but you didn't perform up to the expectation we were hoping for. And Eric Armstead, it was business. I guess you just had to move forward. I mean, he could have taken a pay cut, but I think with Malik Collins, I like the move with Malik Collins. Getting him for a 7th-round pick, that's a bargain. Jordan Elliott, man, I think everybody keeps overlooking the Pro Football Focus stuff. And I'm like looking at the stats that he's won against the run, and he's ranked number 6. So this might be the most underrated pickup as far as I'm concerned. Jordan Gross Matus, I think he might be the most underrated pickup because we don't know what this
looks
guy
good on film.
Yeah, he's good on he can play the inside, which is very viable. Very viable. Like, we can talk about this guy all day, and he's like a kid we can root for, but he can play the inside or play outside. He's very coachable, which I like about him, and you got him for a bargain deal.
Absolutely. I that's the big thing too, is like you want versatility on the D-line. I've worked with, so background on me, I've been coaching college football since 2018. I coach linebackers. I'm now the director of recruiting by my own choice, kind of have some other life stuff going on that prevents me from being committed to being a linebackers coach. But early on, I got to spend a lot of time with the D-line. Lot of close technique, literally seeing it built from start to finish, right? How do you sculpt a D lineman who has the stuff in him to be great, and how do you get it out of him, right? You need versatility. You need to be great against the run and be a pass rusher. We get a nice twinkle in our eye when we see the sack numbers, right? But as we saw last year, sack numbers aren't everything, right? You got to still be able to stop the run. And listen, if we're picking one in today's NFL, like elite pass rushers, but mediocre to a little bit below average against the run, I'd probably take that just because it's a passing league and you got to win. I mean, CG, look at the freaking championship game, man. They were averaging 7 yards a carry on us, the Detroit Lions were. And what did they eventually have to do? They eventually have to throw the football. And then they had Jared Goff throw the football, and that did not end well for them, right? So at the end of the day, that still gets the job done. But again, that's not our expectation here. Our expectation here is we have a top of the league defense that is, like on the Chiefs or Ravens level. Like, they shouldn't have been the best defenses last year. It should have been, per our roster, per what it looked like, per the resources allocated towards the roster, should have been our roster, and hence the moves. But back to your point about Gross Matos, I like the third down packages that he could present, right? Because Collins and Elliott are run stoppers, right? And I think Collins has good numbers in pass rush, right? So then you can think of like, okay, I can put Bosa, Hargrave, Collins and Floyd as my third down group, right? This is my go get it group. Go get the quarterback, pin your ears back, go get the quarterback, right? But you can also, if one guy goes down, Gross Matos, you can plug and play wherever you want, right? I don't see Elliott from what I've seen, as the guy to be in there on third down. A very important guy to have as their run piece. I forget his name on the Chiefs, but it wasn't Pennell. I forget his name, but he had 0 sacks last year.
Oh, Mike Pennell or something. I forget.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's his name.
He's a big D tackle, not quite a flashy guy.
Yeah, not a flashy guy, but he had a job, and his job was to stop the run, and boy, did he do that in the Super Bowl. So you got to have guys that can do both, and that's where they're going with these moves. Is we want to be able to stop the run, but when it's time to go get it third and long, we got the group and the dudes to do so.
Yeah, I think that was the most important key, because going into the playoffs, like giving up this amount of runs was just not going to cut it. But then going against Kansas City, we played a lot better than we expected to play. Yeah. It was a little concerning, but then I was like saying, how are we going to stop Pacheco? But we did slow him down for a huge amount of time, and he was frustrated. But once we lost Dre Greenlaw in that second quarter, going into the next, before halftime or something, or when it was starting halftime, he was injured. Our coverage was just really bad after that. Like, he was shutting down Travis Kelce throughout the game. Once he was out, it was a huge blow. That's when we knew Kelce was going to get on fire, once we saw Greenlaw out, man.
Yeah, absolutely. It was tough to watch Burks and Flanagan Fowles, in coverage. They definitely struggled quite a bit. And I think for most of the game, they did a great job on Kelce. Fred Warner, they lined Fred Warner up on him, basically said, hey, Fred Warner, you're a press corner in the slot now, and you're playing Travis Kelce. And he doesn't get off the line without you putting a paw on him, right? Which I thought was a brilliant game plan. I thought going in, it's like, all right, you have to play press against this cat. You cannot give him any space because he's too big. Like, there's no covering Travis Kelce. He's always open. There is no DB safety that
can cover him
6'7", right? He's unguardable. And on top of that, his football IQ is Hall of Fame. It's all time. He'll always find the soft spot in the zone. I've talked about this before, the telepathic chemistry that Mahomes and Kelce have. It's all time. It's Montana and Rice-esque. Pains me to say that, but it's the truth. It's the cold-hearted truth. And that's why they're so great. Like, that to me more than anything. And I people see the catches, they see the results on TV, but when you watch the film, that is the special sauce. That because Mahomes knows exactly where Kelce's going to be. Kelce knows exactly where Mahomes is going to throw that football, and they can, Kelce can be headed one direction one moment. He can feel the soft spot in the zone, flip his head around, and Mahomes is putting it right in the breadbasket. And forget it. You can't stop it. And the only thing you can hope to do is press him at the line, delay the route, and hope the D-line gets home, which for 3 quarters, that's what the Niners were doing. But they couldn't hold it down for 4.
Yeah, that's what happened eventually. But, yeah, that's the combination. That's just like how they have. It's just like their connection just goes really good. So the interesting part is I think this is probably the last we're going to see KC like this, because they're going to get some more speed on that offense. So I think this was the lesser version of what they were.
Oh, God. Yeah, this was the chance, right?
This was the chance, and we couldn't even capitalize it.
It's tough. It's tough. They are. It is the chance. Never say never. I mean, they could retool, but, when it comes to the Super Bowl, anything could happen. But you can't help but think that, right? It's through the draft, I'm sure they're going to pick up a receiver in the draft. They signed Hollywood Brown, right? It's not going to be Mahomes dealing with receivers who can't catch, and Kadarius Toney and Watson and guys who are just not like true number 1 and number 2 receivers, right? And I don't think they would be on anybody's team. Right. So now you give him Hollywood Brown is a weapon. if they go out in the draft and they get, let's say, a Troy Franklin, or let's say Xavier Worthy, or
ooh, that would be too damn much.
Adana, everybody's been linking, Worthy for the Tyreek Hill,
that's what I see.
I have my own thoughts on Worthy, but I do like him, but I think we should pump the brakes on the Tyreek Hill.
Maybe lower the hype on him, and maybe we can get him later. We'll see. But I don't know. He is a good, talented player. I think what makes him so good is his speed. But I've watched him from I guess, from what I was like. I've seen a lot of stuff about him. And the funny part is, I know his dad too, which is crazy. And I've actually played with. I actually played with Worthy's dad, like during one of those semi-football leagues. We played for the minor leagues and all that stuff.
Oh, very cool.
His dad still plays to this day, which is crazy. Even for this guy, he's in the best shape.
Are you saying athleticism runs in the family there?
Pretty much. But
wonder who he got it from.
He has to get it from his old man. But I never knew that was his kid. Because, everybody just had the same last name. But when I asked him about it, he says, yeah, that's my other son. He says, that's the one that I don't really see as much often. But when I do, man, this dude got all the skills.
Yeah, absolutely.
He says, man, I'll try to see what I could do. We'll see if we can make something. We'll see if we can make something work. But been trying to push for some other guesses. But yeah, like he's got world-class speed. I guess I've been kind of pushing the hype on the Tyreek Hill because he would be a good fit for the Chiefs. But
yeah,
I think for the Ravens, that would be too much for them. I mean, I think Baltimore would be a good fit for him too.
Yeah. Him plus Flowers on in that receiving core. Forget Flowers is going to be.
He's going to be good.
He already is pretty dang good.
He's
headed for the elite tier very quickly.
I think who's going to show up to the elite tier into year 2 is Rice, like Rashid Rice from the Chiefs, man. I think this was the surfing of the ceiling what he was as a rookie, but I think it's going to go up higher now because Mahomes is going to build that trust with him.
Yeah. Yeah, they're only going to get better, right? It just unless they completely, sit on their hands, which I don't see happening, and I wouldn't count on, because if that were the case, they would have fell on their faces this year. Which they looked. This is the same Kansas City Chiefs team, CG, that dang near got shut out by the Raiders. That got embarrassed on their own turf by the hapless, pathetic Raiders.
Oh my God! How do they get stopped by that team?
It's reminiscent. It's really. I hate to say this again, but Mahomes is really reminding me of, and like that whole squad of just like Steph Curry and the Warriors, because no matter what the situation, no matter how they did in the season, like if you have to face them in the playoffs, you have to be shaking. Your knees got to be shaken because. They can turn on a different gear anytime. They have that championship medal, that they have that confidence that they're going to win no matter what. If they play like garbage for 3 quarters, they feel like they can find it and turn on a switch in the 4th quarter, as we saw in the Super Bowl. So
yeah, that's what they are. They do give us the reminiscence of the Warriors a little bit. So it's like you got the Steph Curry, which is Mahomes is, and then you got some of your guys. I guess you can say Travis Kelce is like the Draymond Green kind of.
Yeah, you could say that. Or he's like the Klay Thompson, something like that. But just like it's like a marquee signature of a multi-championship dynasty team is that they don't quit. They never think they're out. And when you think you've had them, you think you have them right where you want them, they find some way to turn the whole game on its head. And that was the Super Bowl. That was last year's Super Bowl.
Everything was in our favor, but the thing that really hurted us was we kept passing, man, and we kept thinking we got them. We did make stops, but for how long?
Yeah, I think when I watched the film on the Super Bowl, for me, Mahomes, it was all Mahomes in those first 3 quarters as to why they weren't playing well. Plus, they couldn't run the ball.
Yeah, because we stopped the run. Must be frozen.
CG.
Yeah, you good, man?
Technical difficulties.
Oh, you got technical difficulties?
I think we're back, so this is all good. But as I was saying, it just it's like Richard Sherman said, Mahomes is like Bowser, right? No matter how well you do, it's a darn good thing they're in the AFC. That's all I'm going to say. After last year's Super Bowl, I'm waving the white flag. I'm like, uncle, like I don't want to face this team anymore in the Super Bowl. Sue me, and it's like, oh, you don't want the smoke, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, no, I don't want to smoke. I just want a ring. I just want to get it over with. I just want it, I don't know how you could watch 3 Super Bowl losses and be like, yeah, let's play the Chiefs again.
No, that's like playing for another loss, man. Like, I don't know.
Nah, yeah.
I think we just need to play another team. Like, give me Buffalo or something.
Yeah, and that's what ticks me off about Rams fans. They were all doing this after we lost, right? Like, oh, we won the Super Bowl. Aaron Donald has a ring. You guys played the Bengals, man. Like, it ain't the same. I'm sorry. Those two things.
The Bengals team was different because the difference with the Bengals were they weren't built like how Kansas City
They're
was.
young.
They caught Kansas City at a good timing when they weren't they caught them at a good timing. So let's be honest.
And they beat them, right? Mm-hmm. So better than them, whatever.
Would it have been different if we played the Ravens? Maybe. Because I don't know. I just didn't seem to buy into what Baltimore was doing at that point of that game. It seemed like there was a lot of holes.
It's tough to say, but Lamar Jackson lost the Ravens that game.
Mm-hmm.
People want to beat around the bush. No, Lamar played terribly. He played like a rookie quarterback in his first year. Like he'd never seen certain coverages before. I mean, that pick when he threw it down the middle in triple coverage, like, come on, man. Like, I'm sorry. They had all sorts of malfunctions. Like, their pass pro was having issues, asking their running backs are horrendous in pass protection is one thing I also learned. Likely the tight end did not have a good game for multiple reasons. And I'm being nice. Like it just is a lot of dysfunction that happened in that game. And the Chiefs gave them every opportunity. It's like a recurring theme. Can somebody take advantage of when the Chiefs stink, in the playoffs? But the Chiefs were like, come on, win the game. And then Zay Flowers fumbling at the 1-inch line. CG, I was in Levi's Stadium on the second deck watching with everybody pregame. We're watching, Mahomes, the Ravens are here. They come, right? Zay Flowers extends across the goal line and it gets punched out at the 1-inch line. Like, what kind of look is that? Like that? I'm sorry. Like that. I guess to be that good, luck does play a role. But
it plays a favor. But so you were at that tailgate at that NFC Championship game because I was out there.
I was not I didn't tailgate, but I was on the concourse pregame to get out of the sun because I was in the high 400s.
Oh yeah, I was looking at that game too, and I saw how that went out. So I went around towards the Greenlawn area, and then because everybody had their big TVs for the conference championship somewhere around there. We checked it out. I'm like, man, those Ravens are kind of overlooking a little bit. And we just said, man, Kansas City might pull this off. And I saw some mistakes from the Ravens, so it kind of seemed obvious. But in a way, I was kind of really. But then I said, nah, I don't think we want to play this Chiefs team.
Yeah.
It kind of seemed tricky. At first, it would seem like, oh yeah, we'll play them because they're not as scary as the Ravens. But then, come to find out, this is a team you don't want to ever play against.
No,
it's like you think you can, but you don't.
And what's crazy too is that there is no other player I can think of, CG, that can play as badly as Mahomes did for 3 quarters. I mean, Pat Mahomes had guys open down the field. Like nobody talks about that either. Like you watch the film, he had options, he had places he could go with the football. And he just wasn't finding them. He was getting harassed by the D-line. The D-line was affecting his play. And he wasn't getting it done. And then it was kind of like the tip of the iceberg was the pick to Jair Brown was like, and at that point we all thought, okay, finally it's our time. Finally, we're going to take advantage. And then we shoot ourselves in the foot. The offensive line really really just stunk that game. Unfortunately, I love those guys. You know, if we're being honest, Jonathan Feliciano stepped in like early in the season, right? And filled huge shoes and played really well, all things considered, right? If we really take into account, he just signed like a less than $3 million extent, like 1 year deal.
Yeah.
He's worth more than that to me, just like for the service he does to the 49ers. Could it be better in pass protection? Yes, absolutely. But for that kind of value, like a legitimate guy who can get the job done at right guard for that bargain of a deal, and here the Rams are paying dudes who
like insane money, like
insane money for guys that by all metrics and accounts did not play well last year, did not play worthy of that money. Right.
Well, like look at the Carolina Panthers. They're paying Robert Hunt $100 million for 5 years. God.
Yeah, the value of offensive linemen seems to be skyrocketing. The trenches. There's a lot of money to be made in the trenches.
Yeah. Rams needed to protect their assets with Stafford, so they had to go get those two guards, and then they felt like Avila can just move the centers, from what I was told. But I think the Niners are just not really – some people keep saying we don't value that much of offensive line, which I kind of question a little bit of it. But I think when you have Trent Williams and Aaron Banks, let's be honest, he's not that bad.
He's solid. He's solid. I think he's – if anything's clear with how the Niners do things with the offensive line, number one, I do think they feel that is an area where they can get away with a little bit of penny pinching, so to speak. And you have to pick and choose. You can't pay everybody, right? And you need a quarterback. You got to pay him. You need playmakers. You got to pay those guys, right? But it definitely has been neglected outside of Trent Williams. And, you know, Aaron Banks has been the mainstay. He's been good, right? Like for me, he's been good. He hasn't shown me anything that says hey, this guy's mediocre to below average, right? I think he's a monster in the run game. He's a big dude who could move bodies, right? So that left side is where they like to run the football. But from the center onto the right side.
To the right side, that's the concern.
Yeah,
we can go on about this one.
Definitely took his fair share of L's on film. Feliciano took his fair share of L's on film and pass protection. McKivitz took
a lot of too many L's on those categories.
And really, like, if they really want Brock to take the elite next step, look at the pockets that Drew Brees had with the New Orleans Saints.
Time on the pocket too.
He had beautiful pocket. You need to get a right tackle with an anchor. You know, that's the thing McKivitz doesn't really have is he doesn't have like a good anchor, right? If somebody's bull rushing him, it's going straight back into Brock Purdy and that pocket's getting tight. And you know what? Brock Purdy put together an MVP caliber season with
that kind of offensive line on the right side.
That kind of offensive line. So you give him a Drew, like, and that was the feel. You tell me how you feel, CG. Like, didn't it feel like whenever you felt like, they're playing a team during the regular season that couldn't get the pass rush, like couldn't rush the passer, like a Cardinals, right? Just for example, that you feel like they couldn't really get home. We knew Brock was going to cook. Like we knew you knew he was going to light it up with all that time to dissect.
That extra time is what made him light it up. Like in the regular season, he did look untouchable, but there was times where he did get a little pressure. So we just didn't. We knew he was going to be good, but we didn't think he was going to go at an MVP level. Did you? Who would have thought that, man? Who would have thought this guy coming back from an injury and say, "Hey, this guy's going to play at an MVP level"? I would have never thought of it. I wanted to see what he can do through this injury and see how the defense can get film on this guy.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it teaches us something about the quarterback position in that you have to have it ability-wise, but also mentally. And that's not news, but after looking at like just having the heartbeat on Brock Purdy and what he's about and what his mentality, right?
The way he thinks, yeah.
You go And you hear about that article that I believe it was Matt Mayoko put out there, or it was either Mayoko or Lombardi, about how he played in Seattle last year with a broken rib, right? Basically got that thing numbed up or something like that before the game. Couldn't even throw a pass in pregame, and they're already writing up, plays for Josh Johnson, the backup quarterback. Purdy toughs it out and makes it happen, doesn't skip a beat. And then you go, that ain't normal.
Most guys would have just set out from that injury.
99% of guys. Look at Trevor Lawrence, man. Let's keep it a buck, CG. You watch Trevor Lawrence when we played them. Tell me that dude, when the pocket got collapsed, like he didn't just shut down. He shut down, man. Like 90% of quarterbacks outside of the elite guys, when they get a crowded pocket, like they can't keep their eyes downfield. Look at Hurts, right? He got a little pressure. He got the 7-on-7 pocket last year.
And he couldn't handle it good. And then you see it with Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott can look untouchable, and he can just be folded like a chair. So it's like,
look at him mentally during the playoffs. Listen, the MVP talk for Prescott during the regular season, it was legit.
It was legit, like Kirk Cousins' season.
He was playing well. He was making great throws. He was putting in tight windows. He was winning ball games for the Dallas Cowboys. Like, I wasn't arguing it. I was like, yeah, he's balling out. And then you watch the tape of the wild card game, and he's a completely different quarterback mentally. And you got to and that's why people don't want to invest in Purdy, because they don't understand that. Like, they don't understand you have to be like a sociopath to be to be like a tip of the arrow, like top 1% type quarterback. Like, you just can't care. You just don't, you can't care about getting smacked in the face. Look at that hit he took in the NFC Championship game when he got that pass over to Deebo Samuel on the crosser, that medium crosser, and he has a 300-pound D lineman ready
hitting him right towards that area.
Clothesline him, and he just gets up. Nah, and I'm just like, dude,
how the hell does he even take a hit like that? And he makes it look like, okay, that's nothing. I'm up. I'm good.
It's insane. Nobody will ever give him the credit he deserves for that, but show me other quarterbacks that are taking those kinds of hits and delivering.
It's kind of hard to tell which one quarterback you can actually put out there. I mean, there's just plenty of quarterbacks who can take hits like this, but not a lot that could just come up and shake it off like it's nothing. I mean, I think we can't question Brock Purdy's toughness. I mean, we've seen how he's been taking,
man.
No, he's been taking hits and been shaking it off. Like, if what you said is true, he was playing through a broken rib in the Seattle game, I think we have a different perspective for Brock Purdy. I mean, even with a torn UCL, even though he didn't play his full game,
it's
like this guy's a robot or something, a human.
Oh no, he's gonna be special, man.
He's gonna be special. He kind of gives me more of that mobile Drew Brees.
Like, and Brees was mobile. At that. People scoff at that, and I kept the receipts on that. Like, oh, he's not the next Drew Brees. He had like one bad game, and I'm just like, brother, look at Drew Brees' first 2 seasons in the NFL.
Wasn't all that great.
Compared to Brock's. Like,
once they build him around the talent, he was playing like at a very high level, and he was very accurate.
Part to do with it for sure. Like, Brees obviously in San Diego didn't have near the amount of talent that he had, that Brock Purdy, or the support system.
That line was not good that what he had in New Orleans. So it was
Then he got it all squared away in New Orleans, and he took off, right?
Yeah, and Marty Schottenheimer didn't even see him that highly at that point, so it was like he was done with him.
I guess not. They let him walk. It was a mistake, but the Charger's going to Charger,
pretty much. But since we're talking like all about how Brock Purdy can be, man, I think he'll probably definitely make another push for a top 5 level. But I feel like going into this draft, I feel like there's not too much. Like, what other needs do you feel the Niners need to address after free agency?
So going into the draft, there's like a number of ways you can look at it. And I look at the Niners offseason from a perspective of, what do we need to move the needle? What do we need to clearly push ourselves over the top, right? It may not be possible to be clear-cut the best team in the NFL, but how can we just move the needle? How can we go into next year's, if we're going to make the Super Bowl next year, how can we go in feeling different? And why didn't we win the Super Bowl? Okay, so if we start with the offense, I love Brandon Ayuk. He's a baller. He's real deal. He's worth the money. I think they should extend him. Deebo Samuel, 1 of 1. No matter how you slice it, that guy is a special, special player. That being said, the one element that's missing in this 49ers offense from the receiver perspective, and it kind of feels like a greedy, spoiled kid asking for more, right? But the truth is they don't have a 50-50 ball guy down the field who's a big-time playmaker.
Speed burner, yes.
Yeah, like a guy like Rome Odunze can go up and get it. A guy like Malik Neighbors can go up and get it. A guy like T. Higgins, right? You look at Jamar, I mean, I put nothing. I'm never going to bash Joe Burrow. I'm just not going to do it, right? But when you've got two big-time receivers who can essentially go get, like they say it's 50-50, but it's more like 70-30, right? He could close his eyes, throw it up to T. Higgins. You want to bet T. Higgins going to come down with the ball? I'll bet T. Higgins coming down with the ball, right? You have a guy like that, you can't guard that. You have a guy like Kelsey who can't guard that. So I want more size. I want a guy like Xavier Legette, right?
Oh, yeah. That's like a bigger Debo. That's a bigger body Debo right there. I mean, he's even been trained by him.
You know, he's his game is interesting, and he's definitely raw because, you know, all of his production comes in his senior year, and that's kind of the knock on him, why he's not a clear-cut first-round pick. And, you know, watching him, you see the glimpses, like, first of all, he ran a 4.3940, and he's 200.
That's for his size, yes.
For his size is nuts, is insane, right? He's definitely a guy who can go up and get the ball. But as far as the yak, I don't know if it's hard to say whether it was like South Carolina just not using him like that, but you would have liked to see them do that, you know? Like I can't recall too much of that. So I wonder why that is.
But there is this one kid that's like another Debo clone that everybody's been talking about. I've been pretty high on this kid. This kid from Western Kentucky, Malachi Corley. This guy has the making of something special. If we put, like, I think he's up, like he's a really good, talented player. But then there's been this one wide receiver that I feel question. I have to put a question mark on this guy. I'm like curious, is this guy going to be a tight end or is he going to actually be a wide receiver? Because this is the biggest wide receiver we've seen for quite some time. Johnny Wilson, I don't know. Yeah. He's got the NBA body.
That's the Florida State wide receiver, right?
Yeah, he's a yak guy too.
He's like 6'7", right? Something 6'7". Like that.
Can that be Juwan James' replacement next year?
Man, could be.
Or does he play tight end? Which one is it?
If he can block like Juwan, shoot, right? You know,
yeah, and he runs a 4.5.
Like, come on down. Yeah, he's awesome. Like just appreciating the fact that he can move like that at 6'7", the length, right? That's somebody who who definitely, like, the ceiling is there, right? If he could develop into that guy who, you know, gets his real grown man strength, like that's something we have to account for too. Look at, like, it's hard to visualize what these guys are going to look like in 3 years.
Yeah,
right.
And like by next year, they'll either bulk up more muscles, like exactly. You've seen it with Drake Jackson. Jackson. Yeah, but
look at Debo. Look at how Debo looked his rookie year, and look at him now.
He's all shizzled
out, right? So we have to account for that. So and then you think about a guy like Xavier Legette, who looks like a grown man already in the NFL. Like
he looks like more of a guy that would just be great on any other team right now. So it's like,
yeah.
I mean, yeah, he only had his one breakout year. The rest of his production is what part is a knock on him. But I think he's still draftable depending on what team takes him. But like, I think this year's receiver class is just very deep as I've ever seen. Like,
it is so deep.
Washington has 3 caliber receivers you can just draft as your starters or something. Like, okay, like you just said, Romeo Dunze. Romeo Dunze is that number 1 guy for sure. If he's in the right. I mean, you look at Jalen Polk, another, like, this dude is something. He caught me up. He was like under the radar for me, but I've always been pretty high on Jalen McMillan because he's from my neck of the woods, and when healthy, this guy can catch the ball too. So I like him. Like, even if we were to move on from Jennings, I would not mind McMillan to play the slot.
Yeah,
that guy got sticky hands. He can catch anything.
Yeah, and you know, like, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the size we do have in the receiving game. Like, George Kittle's a big dude, right? He's
big body,
but he's not quite like a 50-50. No, I would put him in that category, that echelon, but they got to use him like that, right?
They don't use him much. He's like a 6 offensive lineman, but kind of like if you
Super Bowl, that's for
50-50 guy.
Yeah, like I've seen Kittle has shown that like one-on-one he can use his size. I think Juwan as well, but the problem with Juwan is like the speed and the route running is not downfield. He's more of a medium game kind of guy. And I think that is kind of part of Brock's development too. And he pushed the ball downfield, right? Like I'm not here to spread a false narrative that Brock Purdy can't throw a deep ball. He throws it maybe.
That's what some other fans think that they think that way because they say, "Oh, that Brock can't throw a deep ball." I'm like, how do you know? How do you know if he does or not? We don't. He's gotten better with it.
I mean, but listen. Number one, he does throw the deep ball, and number two, he's accurate as swear word. Insert swearing word. With the deep ball, right? Like his accuracy is what separates him, right? Like, and that's why I'm a big Brock believer, is because I believe he's the most accurate quarterback in the NFL, and it's only year 2, so we could very well see like people talk about the touchdown record, the yards record for Breeze, all those things. That dude had a season with 74% completion.
Yeah,
full stop.
And that was when he was at his full best too. And he was like, Breeze was just tearing up the records, and Peyton Manning wanted to break those records, and then Brady wanted to break every record, but
Brady kept playing, so he beat all those records.
Brady just kept beating them till they're all gone or something. But yeah, I think Brock's going into a second year. I think he can make a push to maybe break some better records, not just the pass, maybe the touchdown pass record, because I think the previous record, I believe Jeff Garcia has, or when it was Steve Young. Steve Young, I take it back. Steve Young had about 37 or 36 touchdown passes in the season. I think, because he broke Jeff Garcia's passing yard record, but he didn't break Steve Young's record. Yeah.
And kind of goes back to, again, what do they need in the draft? This is my wish list.
All
right? Like,
number one, I want to say.
Right. This is my wish list, my Amazon wish list, right?
All right, I'm going to write
down.
it
50-50 ball, wide receiver.
Okay.
Improve the offensive line. However you do it, whether that's be a tackle. I think the only way they don't go tackle in the first round or the first 2 rounds is if like a guy like Jackson Powers Johnson is there at 31, a center who could really move some bodies in the run game and be like that top tier elite center. If it's him, or let's say a tackle that's just okay, like he's just, you're not over the moon about him, I'd rather take JPJ because give me a dude who's going to be elite for a long time over a dude that you don't even know is going to beat out McKivitz, right? Like if you're drafting a tackle, be that dude. I realistically, if they stay at 31, I'm a big Jordan Morgan fan. I
like him.
I think his tape against Latu when they played UCLA kind of solidified for me. Like this guy's an elite pass protector. He's got an elite anchor. He can move really well. For me, like, here's my problem with some of the other low-key offensive tackle picks. Like, everybody wants Kingsley, right, over at BYU. There's some people who are big fans, and I can see why, right? Like, there's some good clips of him, but, like, when you watch the pass pro, like, clips, he just looks stiff. Like, he looks like it's hard for him to move, right? Like, I think he gets it done at the college level, but you need that CG. You need that elite athleticism to move at the NFL level, to move with a guy who has an elite get off, right? Great. You block, Joe Schmo from Western Kansas University, right? Like that get off. And then a guy like, I don't know, like Nick Bosa's get off is it's night and day. It's not even the same thing. So when I look for an offensive lineman, and I've recruited every position at Laney College, right? So I literally get paid to watch tape of high school players, right? What do we look for in the offensive line? And I think it's universal at any level. Athletes.
Athletic, but the techniques have to really be really, really good, like in their hand placement.
Sure.
Yeah, because I played the O-line too, and I know for an O-line they have to have good, like good footwork, but they have to have good hand placement and all that stuff they do.
Absolutely. And you can't be leaning, you can't be opening up the gate, things like that, right?
Gotta have better techniques on them. So here's a guy that I'm probably gonna have on my show, Tyreek. He's an offensive lineman from North Carolina AM. Hopefully we get something done pretty soon. But he says, this is what he said. I love to play in San Fran. This is a guy that I believe he plays in one of the HBCU Legacy Bowls, and he follows me on Twitter. So maybe I'll work something down the road with him. He said he'll give me a schedule soon. But yeah, dude, I like all these prospects, man. I like to see what they all do. But I like to wish on their journeys pretty well, whether they play anywhere they want. But yeah, I'm surprised. Maybe we might take a flyer on this kid, but I don't know. We'll see. But
hey, the gems are all at all levels, right? And I'll tell you what, NFL dudes come from D1, D2, D3.
Small schools don't matter.
When I look at the tape, man, I'm really zeroing in on the player, not so much as who they're playing or whatever it is. If they can move like an NFL guy, if they can act, if they look like an NFL guy, if they're doing what they're supposed to, like, I'm going to rank that guy high on my board. I've ranked 225 players so far. So I'm about 2/3 of the way through the PFF Pro Football Focus, big 300 board that they have. They almost have 400 guys. Like the last 30 are like punters and kickers and whatnot. So I'm working my way through that. But, offensive line is something, and I think, the guys that you interview at offensive line and yourself playing offensive line can attest to this. College recruiters are so height and weight, like, that's their shiny object. Like, ooh, height and weight. Ooh, height and weight. That's not I don't care what your height and weight is at O-line. If you can't move, if you can't use your hands, if you ain't athletic, this, CG. It don't matter.
It don't matter. You got to have the heart. You got to have the athleticism. You got to have the mean streak. When you play O-line.
Mentality, man. You got to have the dog in you to play O-line. You have the nasty. You got to have the nasty, right? So,
yeah. I like checking out some of these young guys. When I had Burford like a couple years ago, I saw something in him, but I still think he can get better. I'm not going to just bash him and say he's this and that, because that's never been my intention. I'm always, if you're a friend of the show, I'm not going to throw flies at them, because that's just never been. But, hey, this upcoming prospect is already declared the draft, but he says Trent's the reason I wear 71, and Brandon Parker is an Aggie alum, so it's only right. See, I like guys with attitude. I like young guys that got something to prove, but if we can get something done, Mr. Tyreek, man, we can get something done pretty soon, man. But I like the O-line mostly because I feel like it's the most important position. It doesn't get much appreciation. Like when it all starts down on offense, you have to have the trenches. Yeah, whatever the quarterback has time, or
you have to do it between the ears.
Yeah,
talk about that, CG. Like, people don't talk about, like, okay, if we're walking up to the line of scrimmage, I'm playing guard, tackle. Okay, like, we're gonna double this guy. Who's got who? Blocking assignment. We got a bingo call on here. Like stuff like that. Like, nobody takes that into account. Like, nobody talks about. You have to do it between the ears as an offensive lineman. You have to know which guys you're blocking against different fronts. This, right? Like, you get on the week, get on the board. Okay, just at least how we do it at Laney College. Okay, we're playing Fresno City College. These are the different fronts. If we're running duo, this is how we're going to run it against all these different fronts. And they have to memorize, okay, if we get this call and this look, this is how we're doing. This is how we're going to block this. Like, not every offensive line. And I can only imagine playing for the 49ers under Kyle Shanahan. Like, it's not easy to get your assignment right every time. It takes a level of intellect. You can't be a dummy. Like, you have to have it between the ears to handle that kind of an offense with the pass pro and all these things. So that's kind of a variable it's hard to account for, right? Because listen, best team last year in who won a national championship was College of San Mateo, right?
Yeah. If
I'm a recruiter going to College of San Mateo, here's my thing. I'm going to ask for a complete game film of what they do. They run one running scheme. They run zone. That's it.
It's effective.
That's it, which is good, right? But what if I'm a college team that wants to pull the guard, who wants to run dart or counter or any of these gap stuff, right? So when you have some of these guys from big time schools, understand that the big time schools, like at the big time schools, they don't generally, when they have more talent, they probably do less with the playbook.
Yeah, they do. Because, like you just said, it's just the zone run they do, so it's a little different. The schemes, like, it really depends on how they run their offense. But if they run it one time, it must be the most effective because no defense has no game.
Yeah, I'm a very big believer that if you got the dudes,
and it works, don't stop what's not broken. But yeah, Tyreek Stewart is the guy that was on the comment section. The guy, he's an offensive lineman from North Carolina AM. So I guess he's only allowed 2 sacks in 3 years, but he's got some good lengthy size for an offensive lineman. Like I reached out to him like the other week, so we'll work something out. He followed me, but yeah,
I love it.
I love them big guys.
We got to promote the small cats, man. That's what
That's what we're doing. That's what we're here for. Like the
HBCU guys. Yeah. That's what you've been doing. That's what you've been on. I love it.
My boy Cito Uno, man. Like, come on, 71. Siete
Uno. We love that.
He wears that because of Trent Williams, he says. See, that's the only. See, he says Trent's the reason why I wear 71, and Brendan Parker is the one who we just recently signed. So yeah. Dude, we can go on with the trenches and all that stuff, but it's just that's something that
trenches, man. It's what it's about. That's real football,
I kind of feel the vibe, man. I feel like we got some good vibe, man. Maybe we can work on a daily show on your free time. We can do something like that. But yeah,
why not?
Seems a lot of fun. We're kind of getting the understanding of the game a little bit, and like you said, I like your wish list. Get a 50-50 receiver with speed and get a better offensive lineman. That's something I'm wishing for.
I'll talk about defense, I guess, huh?
Yeah. Run stop. That's what I want.
Yeah. So that's the big thing, too, is like, are we set at D-line? I think it largely hinges on how they view the D-line. If they feel like we're set, we don't need to add anything, which I think that's fair. Like, I think they could go into the season with the D-line they currently have and say they're good. Like, they've got – I think if there's one thing on the D-line I would like is one more D tackle. Like one more D tackle would be just fine. I don't need an edge rusher. I love Chop Robinson. I think he's going to be a phenomenal player in the NFL. But is it top of our wish list? Probably not, right? With the guys we have. We probably have more pressing needs. But I do think, again, losing Armstead sucks.
Yeah, his leadership and
his injuries suck. Like,
it hurt us.
I feel so bad for the guy. I feel so bad because when he's healthy, there's few guys as good as him. There really are. Like, you talk about a guy who can go get the quarterback and is an elite run stopper, athletic, can run. He ain't a slow poke, right? So like, that's the one thing. When I evaluate all these D tackles, the draft is not that deep at the D tackle position for me, in my opinion.
I mean, you get maybe a couple rounds where you can get somebody who can be a starter, but the rest of them are all developmental.
Yeah, I just, again, like my belief on the D line, I want athletes. I want guys who can run. And here's why. When you face the more athletic quarterbacks like a Jalen Hurts, like a Mahomes, like big and slow ain't gonna play. Like it's just not gonna. It's not gonna be pretty, right? You need it to be a run stopper, right? But like a lot of these guys, like I just wish they moved a little better at the D tackle. I think Byron Murphy II has a chance to be a monster. He's just got the aura. He's got the power, the raw strength. That guy, like
he's kind of hard to block too.
Man, he's a big human being, and he's like a dancing bear at D-line. Jerzon Newton.
Oh, that guy's gonna probably be gone before we get him. But I think
both those guys are probably gonna be gone.
Oh right? Yeah, but I don't know. Like, there's just something about this Sweat dude. He's got athleticism, but I don't know. I don't think we value him. I think he'd be more of a 2-down. I don't know.
Yeah, it's
big of a guy.
That's the rare thing, right? Like Armstead was that 3-down guy. So rare. Like that's why. What's his name with the Raiders? He just signed the tackle. I forget his name.
You mean Wilkins, right?
Yeah. That's why he's getting all that money, because guys who are the real deal 3-down guys, like obviously no D lineman is playing every snap of the game. None. It doesn't happen at D line. And it's not a good idea. Like, you want to keep D linemen fresh. But the guys that can play majority of the snaps, like, yeah, that's why they get paid the big bucks.
Yeah, they do. They get the big dollars, like the big money. Like,
and as much as I love Elliott and Collins, they're not Eric Armstead. I'm sorry.
No, they're just gonna have to fill in the role if anything else.
Yeah, and I think they could do that. Like, I think they could do that well for insurance and there's a guy at Ohio State. They have a D tackle there. There's
Michael Hall's. Yeah, Michael Hall's pretty decent. I mean,
Michael Hall has it. Like, I'm kind of like, I'm on that border of like, yes, go get him, and then like, should we go some other direction? Because I've done like 30 billion mocks up into this.
The one I like the most is McKinley Jackson. The guy just eats the run. Like, if he's in the third round, I'm taking this guy.
Yeah.
This guy this guy stuffs the run like he's eating at the buffet, man.
Yeah. And that's like the big thing. We want to make sure we have guys that can stuff the run. So like, I'm pulling up my big board right here. I got this big spreadsheet, got 225 names on it. I have at D tackle, I have Byron Murphy as the top guy, rated 9.25 out of 10. I've got Michael Hall Jr. second, tied with Jerzon Newton. And I like Michael Hall just because he's a little more, like, he can move a little better.
Yeah, he's like less than 300 pounds.
I don't think he's better than Jerzon Newton, like skill-wise, passer, like, but I just like the potential of a guy that just moves a little better at the D tackle position. And then I have Justin Jefferson and Braden Fisk.
Oh, you mean Jordan
Jefferson. Excuse me. Thank you.
Yeah, Braden Fisk is something else. He's like a wrecking ball.
That's, the only thing about Fisk, and I would draft him. Like, I'm going to be honest, especially if he's there in the third round. Oh, that's the dream scenario. So if we're breaking down the draft, like tackle, receiver, D tackle, we're sitting pretty. If we get 3 guys we want there, we're sitting real pretty. I've got excuse me, that's the wrong list.
That's the edge rusher from Colorado State.
Yeah.
He's good. I like him.
He's good. It's just the size could be an issue. He's
could be
a little bit smaller. I do like, as much as I show love for the guys from smaller schools, I am realistic, right?
Yeah, realistic.
Malachi Corley is a great receiver, and I like the tape. Like, I like it. I just know the talent they're playing at WKU. It's not like the SEC. It's not a Power 5 deal. Like, when Debo broke SEC tackles, that is different.
It's a different competition, but I guess, it shouldn't matter what level of competition as long as you have the talent, what it takes at the next level.
Of course. No, totally. And recruiters get it wrong all the time. Trust me. There's NFL dudes at NAIA level, and most people don't even know what NAIA is. That is like, it's not even affiliated with the NCAA. That's where all the cats out of high school and JUCO who couldn't make like the qualifications
because of the grades or whatever,
couldn't get the grades to go to the NCAA D1, 2, or 3. They go there, right?
Yeah, Fresno City College is where I had to go to for a little bit.
Hey, go Rams, right?
Yeah, pretty much the Rams.
Hey, they got a great team every year, man.
Yeah, Coach Calvega. Yeah, he's something else.
Yeah, they're a good team. We played them in 2018 for the NorCal Championship. Fortunately for them, we were victorious. But
it is what it is, man. I haven't been around that campus for quite a while, so
yeah, they got a great football program. So. You go down, another guy that I think, if we're looking for pure run stopper, I believe it's Chris Jenkins of Michigan.
Oh yeah, his dad played a long time, but I think he's like a good run stopper. I
really love him just because he does something elite. Like, I think there's something to be said. Like, if I'm John Lynch, I'm sitting in the GM chair. I'm not drafting you if I don't think you are elite at something. I'm not drafting you just because you're a bot. Like, he's solid. Like, let's get a body in there. Like, no, like I'm passing you up. I'll take a running back that I think is going to be elite, even though we don't need a running back, over a dude who's just not going to really help me win a Super Bowl, or over another player who's not going to help me win a Super Bowl. Right?
That's true. Yeah.
And I'm like, the more I do these mocks, CG, the more I realize it's best player available.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's every round you have the need is a big thing too. You can't ignore that. It's not like you don't play, but I think BPA is king, because if you're not drafting an elite guy, they're probably not going to be worth playing anyway.
Yeah, they're not going to party.
They're not gonna, like, if you don't see them playing on Sundays, like starting for you, like, why are you drafting him?
Yeah, why waste it?
And you'll get somebody better. Like, realistically, you can get somebody better, if not just as good in free agency for next to no money. So what are we doing here, right? Use the draft to draft elite guys who you think are going to be elite at what they do, are going to help you win a Super Bowl somehow, some way. If they're just there to wave the pom-poms and be a body in the like, no. Yeah, get somebody in free agency and let's move on.
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, we rather just bring in somebody who fits our culture and who can play ends, but we tend to get some of those guys that just doesn't work out. Like, when are we going to ever see Danny Gray play? I don't know.
It's a tough one. Injuries.
It's a tough one. He's got speed. He's got everything you're asking for, but just doesn't seem to get on the field.
And that's one reason, like, I might be a little against getting a smaller receiver in the draft, because, like, we have small receivers, right?
Yeah, we do.
In the Super Bowl, I love Deebo Samuel. I love the guy, right? He didn't have a great game in the Super Bowl, and L'Jarius Sneed and company were playing him very well. Like, they're getting hands on the line, and not that he wasn't getting open. So it's tough. Like, I think the biggest issue with the offense, you have to go offensive line. Like, if we had a better offensive line, we win that Super Bowl easily. Like,
yeah,
arguably we win that Super Bowl easily. Number one, in overtime, we score a touchdown the opening drive. Purdy's not missing Juwan Jennings on the pivot route. Like, if he gets a clean shot at it, it's a make, right?
Yeah.
That roll out to the right they had, where it was like a screen and go type deal, and then they had Deebo in the end zone. Guy gets through to Purdy, gets hit, overthrow. Then in the first half, we have the deep post to Deebo, in which, again, that's a scenario where, like, the 50-50 ball, like, he's not coming down with the 50-50 ball, right? Yeah. And he's shown he can do that, but not at the clip that, like, a guy like T. Higgins or Jamar Chase or like a Megatron or like a Larry Fitzgerald. So, yeah, I think that's, offensively, that's where we got to go. We have to defensively, outside of the D-line, again, I'm kind of like edge rusher, don't need it. I do like Xavier Thomas as a sleeper late round pick. Remember that name?
Yeah, Simpson guy. Yeah, he's pretty raw.
Yeah, I think he's pretty dang good. I think he's definitely lacking maybe the power, quite like the power, but
that's what we got Kezar for.
You got Kezar, man. Exactly. Just that, maybe that's what's lacking from his film. But in terms of get off, hands, explosiveness, getting the quarterback, like, he's got some oomph to his game. The linebacking room definitely got fortified a little bit in free agency. They signed a couple guys, right, to beef up the room. I'd like to get a young player in there. I want to go late round with the linebacker position, and here's why.
Okay.
Azeez Al-Shire was an undrafted freaking free agent. If you can get a guy like Azeez in as a UDFA, who is now considered one of the best linebackers in football, what are we doing spending a top pick on the linebacker position?
Yeah, it's pointless.
Sorry.
I think it's pointless, but there is some guys who can probably be there in the 7th round that I might take a flyer on.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know why. I don't know if maybe his draft stock might move up now, but Nathaniel Watson is somebody I like. Hit from Mississippi State, man. SEC Defensive Player of the Year. I don't see where his draft board is at.
Yeah.
It's like he's been ranking the 7th rounder undrafted.
I haven't looked at his film, so maybe I'll do that after this.
There's Jackson. I think Jackson Mitchell's a guy from UConn. I'm looking at as like those mock drafts. I see his list out there. There is another guy that I've seen on the other draft.
Who do you think's my top linebacker?
Who's your top linebacker?
Who do you think, if you had to guess?
Like as far as like top overall,
best linebacker in the draft, and according to my rankings, it's probably not that big of a surprise.
I would say Cooper.
Yep. Clear cut.
He's an all-around player. I wouldn't be upset if we pick him. I actually like this kid.
Yeah, I just, again, at the value of the position and what we
it's not a need, but it could be future.
The impact, like, again, we're trying to move the needle here, right?
Get something to move the needle, yeah.
And whoever's in there, it's like Dre and Fred, assuming Dre makes a good recovery, which we all hope he does, are going to lock it down for the foreseeable future, hopefully, right?
Yeah, hopefully. But I think you got to think ahead of the future, because what if Greenlaw doesn't come back the same? You're going to have to have a backup plan.
I will say that Keely's injury seriously is just not the death sentence it used to be.
Not like it used to be, but it's hard to go back to what you used to be.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely going to be hard no matter what when you tear an Achilles. But I think when you go to the corner position, it's well documented. We need a third corner, right? We just signed that corner from the Saints. I cannot pronounce his name.
Isaac
his last name I have. Yadadum or something. Yeah. Metrics look good on him.
Solid film by him as far as like going into like he filled in 8 games for Marcus Lattimore when Marshawn Lattimore. Yeah, that shit missed. Yeah, but he was filling in pretty solid for him. He had a good grade, an overall grade. So I'm surprised that he was still available when I didn't even hear too much about him.
And if we know anything about the 49ers, CG, we know how to find value at the corner position. Look at Lenore. Like, nobody thought Lenore was anything.
I was pretty high on him for a while.
Me too. I didn't see why there was such hate for him, but that guy played at an all-pro level last year.
At
Charvarius Ward, we went ahead and gave him the bag, right? And now he's playing like a top 3 corner in the game. We know what it looks like, so I trust them with this signing that there's something to this kid's game, that he's going to be, and listen, they moved on from, I believe, Isaiah Oliver. So I feel like that's an upgrade there.
There is still some depth there. We do have Luter, Thomas, and quite a few other guys, but I think Isaac would probably take the spot for now.
Yeah. There are fans clamoring to make a trade for like a big time corner and having visions of, having a nickel package with 3 all, Pro Bowl level corners. And I get that sounds appealing, but my counter to that is that I know all the fans are sick of the D-line getting all the love every year in the draft.
But we got to get better at the area. Like last year, they underperformed. Let's be honest. I'm not against that choice. I mean,
it's about the D-line, man. If you can get home, listen, look at the years past, man. Like 2022, we didn't have an elite DB room by any measure, but we had an elite D-line, and guess what? The defense was elite. Right.
They were playing at a very high level. Yes.
Yeah. So let's not fool ourselves here. Like the D line is where you want your strength to be at. And then it kind of trickles down from there. I do think though, although my point kind of still stands there, even when we talk safeties. So real quick on corners before we get there.
Okay.
I will say Jarvis Brownlee is my guy at corner. This is a guy I really love. I'm not as big on the Quinyon Mitchell train as most people.
He's getting a lot of the hype, and I get it. But
so much hype. I get like he moves like he's the stuff, and he very much
shut down all the competition at the MAC. Man, he had the most shutdown in the history. Man, that's ridiculous. So I can see why he's getting a lot of the buzz. But
yeah, I wonder the physical element of his game. When Toledo played Ohio State and he had to match up against Marvin Harrison Jr. Granted, Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be an elite wide receiver. So if you're going to struggle against any receiver, it would make sense to struggle against that guy. But Marvin Harrison basically had his way with him. He's not as physical as I would like, right? So
he's probably more of a fit for some other, like, I think he's more like a press corner or something.
Yeah, anywhere where he can, use his athleticism and he, don't get me wrong, the speed, the feet, the change of direction, it's all there in spades. I just wonder, maybe I'm taking a guy like Terrion Arnold or Kool-Aid McKinstry over him.
McKenzie, if he could slide, but I don't think he will.
I mean, a lot of mocks have Quinyon Mitchell as a mid-first round guy. Isn't that's crazy to me? But I mean, not crazy. He does have that potential, that ceiling. Like, nothing against Quinyon, definitely a baller, great player. I do think by the fit, the athleticism, like that's where his that's why he's, sorry, my phone's just going crazy here.
But there's this,
that's why I think
that. Oh, were you going to say my bad? No, my bad.
No, you good. Go ahead. Let's roll.
No, but you were talking about this DB, but there's another one that's a sleeper that's not getting much talk about. Dwight McCloughan from Arkansas. This guy's 6'2". Mm-hmm. I don't know. What do you think of him, man? He can create turnovers. Very underrated. I don't think he gets...
what was his last name again?
Dwight McCloughan from Arkansas.
McCloughan?
Yeah, McCloughan. I don't know. Yeah, he's a.
So I have him. Listen, when you scout as many guys as I have, your memory of what they look like some of them, like you talked to me about Marvin Harrison or any of these better guys that are a little more memorable. I definitely remember their tape. I don't remember his tape, but I have McCloughan at a 6.85 out of 10.
Ooh.
Second out of 28 corners, he's 26th on the list. So for me, like, when I look at corners, and I spend a lot of time with corners, I mean, I'm a defensive guy. I'm a linebackers coach. I spend a lot of time with them. I know, my mentor was a DB at Utah State, coached with the 49ers for a training camp. Our corners coach played in the NFL at Cal. So I'm pretty well versed in what it takes to be a great corner, at least from our philosophy. What do I look for in a corner? I need length. I want them long. And I ain't messing with them unless they are fitting up in the run game. I don't mess with you. Like, if you're making business, if you're coming to the 49ers and you're making business decisions when it comes to fitting up the run, take a hike. Like, I don't do it. I don't play that. Right? You're not just getting paid to cover. You're getting paid to fit up. And guess what? Demo and Charvarius Ward fit up in the run. That's why I mess with those dudes, because not only do they lock it down in the pass game, they absolutely, like Demo, Packers game, Lions game, Champions, Super Bowl. That dude was about it in the run game. He had no fear. He wanted that ring. And I was like, pay him. Like, I don't care. It's not smart to pay those dudes, because they were really putting it on. Like, from a fan perspective, I appreciated that. And a coach, I appreciated that immensely. So again, when I rank these corners, if you're not, fitting up in the run, you're automatically like bottom tier of the list. Because look at all the yak guys in the NFL. Like, if you got to make a tackle one-on-one, it's wraps, right? Like, if you got to defend a screen, you're done. Right? So if you're struggling at the college level to make tackles, you ain't tackling the dudes in the pros. It ain't happening. Right?
They got to be coached the right way, or at least they have to have that instinct. So
mentality, man. You got to have that mentality.
Comes a long ways.
So
where would you put Al Blade at? Al Blade Jr. I've heard his tape a little bit.
Last name again, one more time.
Al Blades Jr.
Bledge?
No, Blades, like Al
Blades.
Yeah, Al
Blade Runner.
Yeah, blades, like shaved blades or something.
I don't think I've seen his film yet. I don't think
I need to check him out a little bit more, because his dad used to be on our practice squad a long time ago, but he comes from a great family.
Awesome.
Yeah. That's another guy, because Mike Rump kind of recommended me to check out more of his film.
Nice.
Because he played at Miami
there, right? Like, Rajon didn't even get drafted last year. Rajon Wright played for the Eagles. I know we talked a little bit before a show about him.
Yeah.
But Ray fit up the run too. You know what I'm saying? Like Ray is never afraid to fit up.
He would have been a great fit for us, but we didn't get him.
I wanted them. I wanted them to take a flyer on him because I'm telling you these. And his brother Shawnee doesn't get the kind of love. He lights it up in camp every year for the Cowboys, but I have to figure, if I would guess, they're paying the other dudes big time money,
and they're playing more. So
they're going to play those dudes, right? But
I think he needs to get a fresh start and come over here. Then
I think so too. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah, we pretty much got what we need to do. But yeah, but what were you gonna say? Like other DBs, you were saying?
Well, just like what I'm looking for is like press technique is big with me. I need a corner compress. If your whole college tape is you playing trail technique or you're playing off man, doesn't really do it for me. I'm sorry. Like I need a guy who can lock it down, play press. I think any successful defense in the NFL, you have to play press a percentage of the time in the game. Obviously not every down you have to play press, but you're going to have to do it. Like you're going to be put one-on-one, sometimes on an island, just like the safeties get occupied with something else in coverage, depending on the route concept. You're going to have to show you that you can lock it down at some point. So if your whole college tape is you not doing that and all your highlights are like Wiggins, the corner from Clemson, I like him. I like his size. I like his playmaking ability. I just wish I saw more press coverage, right? And I could be wrong on that because, again, I'm only going about what I can get off of YouTube.
What you can get off of what you see on tape and all that stuff.
Yeah. Like I'm limited in that case. So I may be wrong. Like I don't have the resource of the college tape where I can watch complete game film. I would be a lot more concrete on how I feel about these guys if it were, but there's very much a possibility that he is elite in press coverage. And I'm sure if he gets taken at a high pick, I trust those scouts have done their homework and see that he can play press. So those are the things that I kind of like if I build my creative corner, he's 6'2", he can run a 4.4 40, he can change direction on a dime. He's not afraid to use his hands. That's a big thing for me in press. At least show me that you have a rep where you're putting hands on the receiver. It's not what they call routes on air, right? So if you can line up and press, but if you don't put hands on the dude, it ain't gonna make a difference.
I mean, right? for my kind of DB, I like your kind of critique. I like a DB that's a little bit lengthy, but I like a DB that trashes a little bit on them. So you can get under the receiver's head a little bit.
Got to.
You have to have that physicality. Have like what Lenore has. I don't care how big you are. If you have the heart of a lion and you're gonna just hit somebody,
I agree.
I want somebody like a Lenore, somebody that's gonna lay somebody out.
And that's why I like Jarvis Brownlee because he's the complete package for me from what I've seen on tape. This dude is about it in the run fit. He can lock it down. He's long, right? Like you watch offensive linemen. And you see how, like, if you look at a guy like Amarius Mims, he's long, right? Like, you could see that length right away. Tyrese Fuaga of Oregon State, you can see that length right away. It matters, and it matters a lot at the corner position, too. So that's kind of my deal at corner. I've got McKinstry. I got Kool-Aid at the top. I got Melton, I believe it's Max Melton at number 2.
Max Melton's got all the traits, but I've heard that he's not quite the run stopper like everybody was telling me, but he's got the physical.
Yeah, when I originally, like, you do have a point there, and originally I early on in the draft process I gave him a grade, but I did look at his film recently and I was like, ooh.
No, I mean, he checks the boxes as far as speed and the way he covers, but in the run game, that's just not – he has to work on that area.
Yeah. No, I agree. I got Terrion Arnold. I got Phillips, the corner. I believe he's from Kentucky.
Yeah, Phillips is pretty raw. He's been moving with draft boards in the Senior Bowl. He's been like
I think Kamari Lassiter, Georgia? I should put their school.
Yeah, Georgia. Yeah, he's Georgia.
Yeah,
I
think I need to –
the Matters option over there, too.
I think I need to put their full name plus their school in because this is my first time doing this, so it's very raw. So like my system
we'll definitely cover more of the draft in the coming weeks, but we'll figure out a schedule pretty soon, man. But maybe we'll get something going. But yeah, dude, I love how we're going with this bake stuff. We can go all day about this, but
all day.
We can get a schedule coming up, whatever comes to mind. But on the meantime, I got to go do a couple of things, bro. We've been going on for hours, bro. We can go on hours for another day. We'll definitely need to get a schedule.
Anytime, brother.
We'll get something going. Maybe we'll do like a show call, show me the tape, something like that.
Ooh, I like that. That's got some pizzazz to it. Look at you, big brother.
Yeah,
I love it. I love it.
We'll work something out, man. Just I don't want to. It's just we've been going on for a while, and then usually I don't like to go too all long, bro. It's just it gets kind of fun for a while, but I know we can go on for hours, bro. I see that we got something good right here.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I could relate to it because I played the game also, and I've actually coached a little bit, so I know
where you
where
go
you're from that kind of critique.
But my language.
Yeah, we'll work on something. We'll get something with a title. We'll put "Show Me the Tape" or something. Maybe do something during the draft week, and then if you got other available schedules, maybe during the season, we can get something going too. But
absolutely,
yeah, you like the name, like the idea? Show me the tape.
I think that's the one. How could you name it anything else?
Yeah, because that's what coaches always say. You got to show me the tape.
Yeah, exactly. It's got the it factor. Mm-hmm. When I hear a show like that, I was like, ooh, maybe I'll watch that. You know what I'm saying? It's not boring.
Maybe we can come up with some videos together and look at the players and see how we look at it. Because I feel like there's a vibe there. Maybe we can get a different critique of what we look at them.
Yeah. It would be cool. It would definitely, I think especially that we have the means to do that, right? Like through YouTube and stuff like that.
We can add stuff to that. Like I'm not even monetized, so I'm not even worried about it.
There you go. I love it.
We'll work something. We'll call it a day. Maybe we'll work something, but you give me like a schedule that works for you. Maybe I can try to work something better because my schedule's kind of been in and out a little bit, but I think my schedule should be more open in the coming weeks.
It's the off season, so we got flexibility right now. That's for sure. But definitely, I'll do. You know me, man. I'll do anything and everything when we were talking ball, talking shop. So
yeah,
I'm
for
down
sure.
For whatever.
And the funny part is, we got one of them prospects on our comment section, so that means he's listening.
There you go.
I guess
to get his love, and I love it.
Yeah, his name is Tyreek Stewart from North Carolina AM. I'm supposed to get him on this coming week, but he's a 6'6", 300-pound tackle.
Love it. That's definitely the mold of an offensive or NFL guy. That's for sure. He's got the measurables.
Got the measurables, so we'll definitely see what happens. But for everybody else who's not too familiar with your channel, tell them where they can find your social media platform.
At Kezar Pod. I also have my personal Twitter. It's just my name, Adam Kadura, at Adam Kadura. That's my Laney College Twitter where I do all my recruiting and stuff like that. So definitely not going to be really talking Niners on there anymore. I used to. And then it was kind of a recent idea to say, hey, let's just create a whole podcast and a channel dedicated to just that. So I can kind of separate the two jobs, if you will. Not this is a job, it's more of like a passion project, I would say. But at Kezar Pod. And if you want to follow me on my personal, at Adam Kadura, either or both would work for me.
Yeah, we can do some breakdown. We can do something where we can check out these prospects and all that. Because I'm too deep into I'm into the draft stuff a lot, so it's
it'd be fun if we could just live stream, we could pull up tape, live stream it, and we're both commenting on it.
Yeah, comment on something. We got to figure out how we could do that. You got to help me with some stuff. I'm trying to get adjusted to something like how John Chapman does that stuff and other people. I'm trying to do something like that.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of guys. I guess it's a little oversaturated now, but let's just do what's fun.
Let's just do what we like. So
yeah, keep it like that. You can't lose.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, we'll definitely catch up. And for everybody else, this is not the end of the road with this guy. This is more to come.
Love it,
man. Hey, coach and a player. I want to do something called "Show Me the Tape," man. I don't want to just say. Don't just say you're the best at your position. Show me the tape.
Absolutely. The film don't lie. Okay, that's another idea.
Remember how Mike Singletary used to say, "Don't say that," or he said, "Show me," or something like that.
Don't tell me, show me, or something.
Don't tell me, show me. Yeah, that was the kind of mindset I was putting into. But hey, thank you guys for tuning in.